Hey everybody, welcome to my Ascension Messages. My name is Bobbie Richardson. Today I'm going to have a chat to a delightful, beautiful person called Daneille Rogers. She is one of those people who truly loves what she does. She is a hypnotherapist who specializes in quantum healing and as such helps people who are on their spiritual path to release their most challenging traumas and icky stuff, as well as taking control of their limiting beliefs so that they can go on to live their most amazing, beautiful lives and step into their life purpose. So Danielle is also passionate about creating communities and like-minded people, and as such hosts many workshops and groups that are focused on empowering people. Danielle is lucky to call Northern New South Wales home and feels blessed that distance is no barrier to being able to work with clients all over the world. And you can find her at the website that's going to be all down below, but it's happymindaligned.com. So we will also say a bit about that at the end. Welcome, Danielle, to my show. I'm going to be doing a few more of these helping out other people interviews. So let's get started into what you're actually about and what you're doing. Tell us a little bit about how this all started.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm very blessed to be here and thank you and very appreciative. Okay, so I got into hypnotherapy, clinical hypnotherapy, approximately a decade ago and was on that path of quit smoking and, all of those helping people with those sort of anxieties and typical clinical hypnotherapy issues. And then stumbled across Dolores Cannon, who then catapulted me into this wonderful, amazing world. So I've always had a bigger picture, more spiritually focused interest. But this gave me the opportunity to work with that interest. And as such, now I work with people who are also on their spiritual path. And quite often people, they come to me either from either their higher self is pushing them towards me in some way, or maybe we have a soul contract, or that they cross my path at a certain point, but there's always some reason. So I tend to, in the sessions at the moment, now at the end of them, I'm asking that question, the why me? Did we have a soul contract, or how did this person get to me?
You get some valuable information from that, can't you? When you start to ask those questions and things start to pop in your head about, or, messages from their soul even of this is why. And then you're like, now I can help them with ABC as well. Yeah.
Well, the whole point of quantum healing is to get to a point where we're literally having a conversation with their higher self. So the way an appointment runs is by, I almost call it, it starts off as an advanced past life regression, whereby the higher self might be showing them particular lifetimes or events that happen in past lifetimes that are somehow linked to what they're currently experiencing. So whether it's that they've got some emotional, energetic baggage that they've carried into this lifetime, or they have a gift that needs activating and shown how to use it, because that's sometimes, or sometimes it's someone who's so locked up into some kind of emotional trauma that they're being reminded how to be. So, for example, I had a lady who was in a lot of fear and was experiencing lung cancer, and that tends to be a lot of life fear. And when she went into her past life regression, she went to a past life as a seagull. I was like, what am I going to ask a seagull? And it was probably one of the first animal lifetimes I went into.
Lots of through animals.
And since then I've spoken to lots, but that was probably the first one. We went through her entire lifetime, and when we got sort of further on, we went all the way through to the last moment and how she crossed out of that lifetime. And then later on I was able to ask her higher self, okay, out of all of the thousands of lifetimes you could have shown, why did you show this one? And the answer was she needed to remember how to just feel free, how to just ride on the wind, just that day-to-day, enjoying the sunshine, just existing for the sake of existing, as opposed to being in her head so much. She just needed that release. So I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, so you're doing some wonderful work there with helping them out and acknowledging that there's more to life than just this life, right?
Exactly.
And what they can actually bring in and realize, whether it be a trauma from a past life or this life. Like I've also heard like hypnotherapy and that sort of thing, what you're doing can help those that have had trauma in this life, say an accident or something, and they've actually been unconscious. And then while they were unconscious, say for instance, I don't know, the ambulance guy had a bit of a hiff with his wife that day, and he started to talk about it to the other guy in the ambulance, and then that sort of thing came up while it was raining, and then the person who comes out of the unconsciousness, because they're still there, they're still present, they're still hearing all this, but it's in an unconscious sort of a state, a soul state, I suppose, and then when you click back into it, you wonder what, they're wondering why whenever it rains, I argue with my wife.
Exactly.
That sort of thing,
Exactly. And I've started to do also offer root cause hypnotherapy for that kind of thing, where they go, there was this one thing or this one, or maybe usually it's an injury or someone, for example, had an upper arm issue. And she herself is quite awake, but she was someone who was very, very independent. She does the most amazing woodworking. She makes these beautiful woodworking trains, and she does all her own gardening. She's, really independent. But then she got this injury, and it's been really debilitating, and she can't do those things. She's now got this weakness to her dominant arm. And when we went into the root cause, because that's really laser focus, whereas the quantum healing is of absolutely everything.
Okay, you're going to have to go back and go over what those things are individually. So I don't know, so I'm sure some of those watching don't know either. So, but carry on with the story.
Okay, so what she found was that she was being told that she is now at a time when it's time to become part of a community, and as such you need to be giving and taking, and she was at a time when she was having a new person come in, and I knew this would resonate, and she needed to be able to allow other people to help her. So, and the message she got was, it's time to rest, it's time to allow, it's time to work with other people. So it's not a time to be alone. It's really a time to expand that. And so, but the injury and what was going on forced her to make changes.
That's right.
And if she would have kept on the same path and been doing her own things, if she hadn't have had this injury.
Yes.
So it's fascinating. And you know what? And the crazy thing is once she understands, I can say to the higher self, okay, now that she knows, does she still need to experience it? And they're like, well, no. And literally it gets healed. Usually then and there, sometimes it takes a little bit.
Yes.
As in a few days, because this is the difference between the conscious mind and the belief systems and the subconscious mind that you mentioned earlier. The subconscious mind is this all-encompassing, it literally misses nothing. It's a 360-degree view of our lives kind of things. And this is why, remember in the old days you used to be able to get CDs to play, to learn a different language while you were asleep. They work because your subconscious is always present. So if I'm doing like a clinical hypnotherapy for someone to quit smoking and they start snoring in my chair, I'm like, that's okay. Let them have that kip. They need that. Obviously, their subconscious got their conscious mind out of the way, because they're still going to get the benefits.
Yeah.
And sure enough, at the time when I'm counting them back out of the trance state, they wake up and go, oh, I don't need to smoke anymore, or whatever, whatever it happens to be. It's amazing. Absolutely fascinating.
Amazing. Yeah. I had similar thing when I was 19. I was in a job that I wanted to get out of, and I didn't know how to get out of it because I didn't have the so-called balls enough to speak up for myself. Assertiveness is a better word. And then And then I ended up having a massive accident on my
Mm.
foot, which is all about moving forward, see? And then throughout my
Yes.
life, whenever my foot aches, I'm like looking at myself going, okay, what part of my life am I not moving forward with? What, that's
Exactly.
why it's starting to ache again.
Hips, knees, feet, yeah, all of those sorts of things. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so interesting how there's always a purpose and a reason. Always,
Mm,
always, always. And there's no such thing as coincidences, no matter how, like someone gets an injury to, say, this arm again. Okay, so why wasn't it the other arm? Why wasn't it a leg? Why wasn't it something else? Why this arm?
mm,
And you find that it was the thing that was the most debilitating, or the thing that would get what they needed achieved.
mm.
So, for example, if you're saying that you're busy at work, for example, you work in a busy office and you're like, God, I wish I could just have a break. Sure enough, the next thing that will happen is you'll come down with a cold and a flu, something that will keep you in bed, something that will keep you literally resting,
Yeah, yes.
And if you ignore that and you still get up and you go to work and you still do that, then the next thing it will be something more serious and something more serious
Yeah,
until
yeah.
you finally go, oh, hang on, I put this out there. I wanted
Yeah.
the rest.
And it's a great thing that it gives people to realize that they have to take responsibility, and then we stop judging other
Accountability.
people for why things have happened to us, accidents and all of that included, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
recently worked with a lady so a lot of the women who I've been working with lately, and it's not always women, but just lately it's been women. I've been working with a lot of women in their 70s and 80s, which is uh, fabulous. So, I mean, you're never too old to release trauma, like
No.
absolutely
If
amazing.
you're alive and you've still got, you're here for something, right? And if it's
You're here
releasing
for the
trauma before
ascension
you pass
process.
over,
Yep.
then wow, because you're going to go up into a higher frequency for the next life, or yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And both so the two that I'm thinking about, both have had quite traumatic, very, very traumatic lifetime, and in this lifetime. And this first one, when she went, her higher self took her literally, instead of going to a past life, literally took her out of body, and she just went up, 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 straight up into the universe, straight up, and literally went back to source or God, or she
Oh,
called it
wow.
God. And she just started laughing and just went, huh, well, this is boring.
Mhm.
And she literally, when she let go of all of the humanness, all of that, she was just existing in everythingness.
Mm.
She found that boring. And
Oh,
so she
wow.
was like, and the question was, why would I give myself such a traumatic life? Because we had a big discussion about planning before we incarnate. And so that was her answer. She was like, holy dooly, I like. And she goes, I kind of had a bet with God, to go, how much can I cope with? So I kind of layered it
Yeah.
on.
No, yeah,
It's like,
I don't know if you do this, but I do this where I have these thoughts that come in my head of discussions that I had before I was born into what
yep,
I was actually going to come into and do while
yeah,
I was here. And then when you start to go,
exactly.
oh, haven't done that yet. When's that coming? That sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's so
really,
funny because the minute she came out, and it was probably one of the shortest sessions I've ever done, she came out and went, well, no, fixed now. None of that other stuff happened. Huge smile, weight's gone. I was just went, what do you mean that's it? Go back in. We've got more to go. She's like, no, no, go
got
ahead.
more time.
Great. Best success
Anything
story
else?
ever. and she's amazing.
Yeah.
And the other one, the one who was in her 80s, same sort of thing. And actually, she was really interesting because she was angelic. She went back because I got her higher self to show her who she really is out of body
Hmm.
in soul state. And so she was angelic, and that she had incarnated with these two um, particular parents who were both quite young souls who had a lot of trauma. They both brought in a lot of their own trauma and were
Hmm.
quite angry, abusive people as a result of what had been piled onto them. But it was the past life. And she had volunteered to come down to help them. And
Mm.
as a child, like we take on our parents' sadness and our parents', anger, or our parents' whatever. And as children, we try and carry these burdens for them, which is
Just keeping it going, isn't
potential.
it?
It
It's
is,
keeping
it
the trauma
is, yes,
going. Yeah.
exactly. However, they can't, those parents will never be able to actually heal
Mm.
when the burden or whatever it happens to be is divided between two souls, carried by two souls, it still needs to be given back at some point to become whole, so that then that can be healed.
Yeah.
But as a child, she didn't know that. And she also, by taking on these burdens from these two parents, it allowed them to get to a point of having a lessening burden for a while, so that they could then create some space to then go on to heal. Both of the parents had crossed by the time we had the session, and we were able to bring them into the session and give those burdens back, so that they could then heal them in soul state. And it was like forefront. And so they did these beautiful healing processes. And she came out of that going, I can finally forgive them. She goes, I've understood this concept of forgiveness, but she couldn't get there. And then she was like, she saw them and saw what they'd been through. And then she had these beautiful tears of understanding and this beautiful love for them, you know, and then also love for herself, you know,
That's
which was
great
super
work.
important. Because,
I love that. That's great.
She did that one particularly. She calls me her miracle worker. She keeps saying, "You're my miracle," and I'm like, "No, you're your miracle worker. I just held the space, you know. I got to witness it, which is why I have the best job ever.
Yeah.
I get to, and I just love it. You know, it's just such a.
Is there like a progression from there? If they go home and then they might have dreams or something, they can ring you up or something afterwards? Yeah, because
Sometimes they get all of most times, because they've connected to their higher self in the way that they have, then they have now got their own direct access. So now they trust their own answers and their own intuition. And it's kind of like it opened that channel. And in a lot of cases, we actually intentionally do that. But yes, I'm always a phone call away, and always happy to support. And then someone might come back, say 12 months later or something, and go, "Oh, I'm ready to do the next layers." And it's like, okay, great. Let's see what happens now.
There's always another layer, isn't there?
There's always another layer. Yes. And of course, that next session will always be something amazing different.
Well, I wouldn't say, actually, I'm not going to say always another layer when it comes to humanity's consciousness. There will come a time where we can find that balance between, you know, our intuitive and logical, whatever side, you know, conscious and unconscious, outer inner worlds. There will come a time when we start to go, okay, I know how to play this game now. And then it will come from our own self-support, recognizing who we are from that source energy point of view, and then coming out. Yeah.
And I think you've also been saying remembering who we are. So it's not learning how to do this, it's remembering.
That's true.
Yeah. And I think
it's learning how to let go, I suppose, in some ways, learning how to let go of that. Yeah. Those stories that didn't really suit you. Yeah. And stories are still going to happen to us, aren't they? They're still going to happen. But if you can let go quicker, then you move through the story for what its value was in that moment. And then you're into the next moment. And so you're not carrying any of the burdens. There's no 10 of wands in the tarot coming up anymore, carrying all of the sticks on the back.
It's all about perception, you know, and, you know, a problem's not a problem unless you feel it's a problem.
Yeah. Yes.
If you don't see it as a problem, you know, like when you're in soul state, you know, there's something that you may have done right or wrong, but from soul perspective, there's no such thing as wrong. It's a learning experience, and you know, so that's that whole. It's like someone who, I'm an Aries. I used to be quite feisty and quite reactive, and, you know, be a short fuse kind of person. And these days, I'm so ridiculously laid back. It's like, don't know the last time I kind of, you know, had a little meltdown kind of thing.
I'm really easygoing these days.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had someone who I used to work with in the corporate world years ago put up a meme, you know, or something about who's more impatient these days, or what are you more impatient? And I was like, I'm the opposite. I'm way more laid back, you know. And I think that's that whole, I don't use anger straight away now. I can, before I hit the spark, I'm able to step back and look at the thing and go, is that person intentionally trying to hurt me? No. 9 times out of 10, no. And if they are, then okay, what's their, you know, they're obviously a hurt person on some level. What did I do to do that? You know,
so how do you feel? Yeah. how do you feel when it actually happened? I go into that as well. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you are allowed to still be human because we're still having the human experience. And, we can't be perfect, zen every
No,
24
that
hours, 7
is
days a
part
week.
of the human experience. Otherwise, we wouldn't have those
Yeah,
emotions
yeah,
and feelings and that sort of thing. We wouldn't have them. I mean, they're there for a reason, just like the imagination
exactly.
is, and just like the logic is, But it's all got to
Exactly.
go in its own wave, doesn't it? Of what's necessary in the moment for us to
Yes.
actually live a conducive life that makes us happy,
Yeah,
ish, more
yeah,
happiest.
absolutely.
Let's go back to what's the difference between some of your tools or modalities or whatever you want to call. You explain what that is all about.
Okay, so quantum healing is what I do. That's my focus. So when I offer a quantum healing session, that's a session that usually takes 4 to 6 hours. So it's pretty much, I say to people, spend the day with me.
Yeah, right.
And I don't book anyone else in. I've had sessions go for 8 hours. That's
Wow,
always really
wow.
big, but they needed it. And the
Mm,
way that a session will work is the person will have pre-prepared their, like, every question that they want to know about their own life, significant events in their life, significant people. They can ask things like, what kind of soul am I? What planet do I come from? Do whatever they want to ask.
yeah.
I say there's no limit to the type of questions or the number of questions, because my intention is that they get literally everything they want out of this session.
Mm-hmm.
And so we usually spend the first hour to 2 hours going through their questions, and that way I know exactly what their intention is and what they need. And then we usually, during that, we add more questions. But during that time, I also make sure that they understand what to expect when we go into the trance part.
Mm.
So because a lot of people don't understand what hypnosis is, Hollywood has not done hypnotherapists any favors,
Okay.
and people have this preconceived idea
Yeah.
that I'm going to put them to sleep and they're going to feel something, they're going to feel
Yeah.
unconscious, or they're going to, something like that.
You're going to give
Whereas
it
quite
the
often,
onion.
yeah, and quite often they only go, like if there's a zillion levels of hypnosis or sleep or whatever we're going to call it, or trance, quite often they only need to be here.
Yeah,
So
okay.
long as they can, they're just trusting in what's coming in.
Mm.
So in my early days when I first started doing it, most of my clients were somnambulistic, which meant they went to a level of trance where their conscious mind was completely gone. And I
Mm.
was literally just working with the subconscious. Whereas these days, I think it's because I'm working with more awake people and more
Mm.
advanced souls, the more
Mm.
I've gone on, that they stay quite aware.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
so,
I haven't been able to be hypnotized. I'm more of a surface level. I'm always
yeah,
aware, even in my dreams, I'm aware half the time of what's going
exactly.
on.
Me
Yeah.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. So anytime I've had an opportunity to
Lucid
be in the
dreaming,
seat,
lucid waking. Lucid, yeah.
yeah. But just so long as I can trust it. And quite often I laugh that the first time I was shown a past life in one of these sessions, the thing that jumped out to me, or the first image I got, was grown up Bam Bam. I'm like, what? How random is that? And I'm like, and then it quickly downloaded more information that I was a blonde man who was stocky, t-shirts and shorts in Sweden. And then the rest of the story kind of flowed out from there.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, if I hadn't made it up, it would have been unicorns and fairies, not grown up Bam Bam. So that was a validation in itself for me, which I kind of went with. So yeah, it's trusting. So yeah, so in that first part, I'm making sure that they understand what to expect in that second
Yeah.
part, the
Wow.
trance part, so that
Wow.
they're not in the seat going, "Am I doing it right? Am I making this up? So that we can get a better, deeper, more relaxed thing.
Mm.
I want to make sure that they're 1,000% comfortable when they get into what I call my magic chair.
Yeah,
So,
wow. That sounds
and
so
then
curious. I'm
it
so
is.
curious about that. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that's right. We're going to have to do a session. We'll have
Yeah.
to do a session.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows where I'll go, right?
Exactly. So it'll be
Yeah.
wonderful. And I love those ones where it can, well, there's no, I've learned over the years that I never know where we're going to go. Like, at the
No.
minute I close that door and I've got someone in
Yeah.
that chair, there's like my belief systems, my own understanding of spiritual universal laws, whatever, has been turned inside out, upside down so many times.
Yeah.
That as
The
soon as I
soul
think
is
I've
the
got
soul, right? The soul is the soul. The soul has journeys all over the show. It can take on any sort of life
exactly.
form that it
And
really
it can be
needs or
this
wants.
soul, resonates with all of these universal laws, and then you'll get another one who's no, there's a whole new set of universal laws. So I was like, there's more than one set of universal laws.
Because it's every possibility, right? Every possibility is a possibility, and it's just down to how we actually perceive things in this avatar that makes a difference. Yeah,
exactly.
Beautiful. Yeah.
So I love it.
So this is all done through your ability to hypnotize them, but there's no like outside tool or anything that you use.
Not at this stage. No. This is literally
like
just
talk them
therapy.
through and get them into that stage, and just like Doris Cannon.
That's who I trained with.
Yeah. And so, how long ago did you do her course?
2014. So 14. I was probably one of the last that was trained by her.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh no, in that last few groups, I think. But I do believe that, and I've heard that she attends every quantum healing session that any of her students does. So she's quite present. So, and quite often I'll have different mediums sort of go, oh, Dolores Cannon is hanging around you. But I believe other practitioners get the same kind of as well. So, which I think is kind of beautiful.
Yeah. It is interesting as the soul progresses into understanding different perceptions or levels of awareness. Let's put it that way. So the higher you go, the more level of awareness you have of more humans, more animals, more whatever it is. Because the soul is all of that. It is oneness in itself. Just
exactly. And we're experiencing all these lifetimes simultaneously. We think they're one up.
And then it's our focus, right? It's our focus that makes this the actual point of what we're actually experiencing.
Exactly. But a lot of people are starting to bleed into other lifetimes through in the dream state usually, or even waking dreams and daydreams. And they'll be like, what just happened? And
we've got to kind of thank our logical mind in that respect then, don't we? To say, well, thank you for bringing me just into one. Otherwise, it'd be so confusing if we had a trillion different things that were coming in energetically all the time. Yeah, sometimes I do feel like myself, I have to really center myself because I'm bringing in more or helping out more than in my dream state or my subconscious than what I expect. I've had people say, oh, I saw you in my dreams. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But and that's what happens, especially if you're like we are taking on leadership roles and that sort of thing. That's absolutely fabulous that you're doing this work. And so people can actually they have to come to you, or is this a remote viewing like online Zoom thing?
I can do both. So I can have a session where they come into my offices. So we've just moved into town. I've got these beautiful offices set up in Grafton, which is where I'm located. And however, I do just as many Zoom meetings as well. And it's as if we're in the same room. It's as energetic, I'm working with the quantum field. So it doesn't matter. So we just use quantum entanglement. And the only difference is during the induction into the trance state, I just build in a little safety net about just in case the internet, drops out for whatever reason, then you'll just naturally, wake up, be able to fix a problem and then go back into the trance state. Simple as that. And I've never had a problem. So, and that's like initially, we weren't allowed to do online sessions. As a student of Dolores Cannon, they don't like that. Dolores was quite afraid of the internet. However, it's been 14 years since then, and now there's a woman Pamela Arlen, I don't know if you've ever come across her. She's a channeler. So she channels all kinds of different entities, and one of the groups that she channels is one of the galactic councils, and Dolores is actually a member on this council. So she actually channels Dolores as well as lots of different names who have passed. And Dolores is like, oh, yeah, no, the technology is amazing. I love how everyone's taken what I did and gone further with it, you know. So she's all for it.
Yeah. Well, and I
That was
suppose
my
some people are
validation.
more comfortable at home, right? Like they actually can have their little
Yeah.
lazy boy chair in front of the set themselves
Well,
up so
it's
they feel in a nice,
absolutely.
secure, safe space while they're going into that sort of a,
Yeah.
yeah, which is not a
So long
bad.
as they can be in a space that is where they're not going to be disturbed, where they can be comfortable, where we can set up the laptop so that or whatever it happens to be, that I can see them while they're in the trance state. That's it. That's all I need. Just a Zoom connection.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I have worked with people all over the world. It's been amazing and
Yeah, I know.
fascinating.
I have too. I'm like, I love that. I love that side of it.
It's so
Like every time I
amazing.
got off, actually, Michael would say, my flatmate, he would go, where'd they come from? I'm like, I
Yeah.
actually don't know. I forgot to ask. So I started asking and I realized, wow, they're
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Wow.
They're everywhere.
And it's amazing. Like, how did someone in California learn about me?
Yeah, I know.
To
Yeah,
know me, you know?
your
And
name's
that's where
getting
I
out
started.
there. Yeah, you're like,
And that's where
okay.
energetically you kind of go, okay. And this is what, and I've started
That's
because I've
fantastic.
always asked at the end of the trance start, I've always asked the higher self, what was the purpose and reason that this person was brought to me today?
Mm,
Because I want to make sure that it's been, you know, achieved what it needed to achieve.
mm,
And now I'm also asking, okay, why me? You know,
yeah,
out of anyone in the world, why me? Was it a soul contract, or am I just the person who matched in the area?
align
And to be
energetically.
honest, the answers are about 50-50 there. So it might be someone that I've never met before and we had a soul contract. Like,
Mm,
how cool is that?
yeah,
And their only role was, or, you know, the soul contract was for them to come and have this session with me
yeah,
to put them on their path and release their stuff so that they can keep going. That was
yeah.
it. And then we
Well,
just
I
go,
literally have a vision then in my head of, before you're born or something.
yes,
And then you're like, okay, I'm going to be doing this healing work for humanity. So then they're like,
yes,
okay, see all of those people that have lit up green. They're the ones that with the green auras, they're the ones that you're going to be helping. You know what I mean? There's your soul
yes.
contract. Boom, 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 boom. They're
I
like,
love that.
they're like in their soul, don't worry, someone's coming. Somebody is coming to help you. It's all going to be fine. At the
Exactly.
right
Wow.
time. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I always find that really fascinating and just blows my mind.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's just fabulous work what you're doing. I'm so excited that there's more of us getting out there and actually doing grounding work, like
Yeah,
making the actual business. And that's not an easy
that
thing,
is
is it?
not easy.
Because we're all like, we're the feminine ones who are in the imagination to try to
Mm,
ground some of the stuff that's not actually, seen as a norm in this
no.
world. To branch out away sometimes from perfectly good jobs and that sort of thing. And then actually putting it all together, we have to make sure if you've got a bug on your shoulder.
I got a Spidey.
I knew you had a bug on your shoulder. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
so Mother Spider or something. Anyway, she's coming in to shed some light. Um,
She's beautiful.
but it's quite a transition to go from, okay, it's in my imagination. I know what I'm supposed to be
Mhm.
grounding here. Now I've got to put
Yeah.
everything together, as in the advertising and the hard work and
Oh,
all of that, and then getting it all out there and finding the right people to interview and all of that sort of thing.
oh.
I mean, it's quite a transition. And then you still back, oh, the only person backing you is usually you,
Mhm.
mainly you, and then to
Absolutely.
branch, this is us grounding it. And I think
Yeah.
it's fabulous because it's not something that's I think for the etheric feminine people
Yes.
that is an easy thing to do.
It's not. It's got. I've actually just started with my partner, so with a little bit of backing,
Yeah,
we've
yeah, good
started
on
a
you.
new
Lucky
business, which
you.
is yeah. Um, so I've got my happy mind aligned, which is that business, but we've just started and introduced a frequency healing business.
Wow.
And that is using rife frequencies and scalar fields and all sorts of things. And it's beautiful. We've got a gorgeous lounge set up, like spa-like. It's absolutely beautiful. Do you think we're getting sold out? No.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
I know.
Just hang
I
in
know
there.
it is. Oh my gosh.
It's
And I kind of trust that. But initially it's like, it's crickets. People don't understand the concept, and they don't understand the power of it, and they don't understand, because we're in a regional area that's not it's very old school, very traditional kind of thing. They're stuck in the old medical system. They're not really. There is an undercurrent of awake people, but not really, or spiritual focused people. It's growing. But yeah, a lot of them are like, oh yeah, those weird people that do that weird. And it's really funny because the location of our new office is, we're above the post office in the middle of town, and we've got the courthouse on one side, a high-rise building that's here that's all state government. That one on this side is council building, like it's that really corporate dense energy, and we're this sparkly little pink shiny light in the middle.
You're the light in the middle of it all.
I find that's what my intention is and what I put out there. So, but yes, and we know that it's going to take off. But
to help you out with that a bit, so what if someone was to walk into that room, that space, what would they walk into?
Okay, so they would walk into, so it's a beautiful space that's got an oval, it's got filled with recliners, or a circle of recliners. And all they need to do is lay back, relax. They can either, I've got a bunch of magazines that they could read. I've got colouring in that they could do. And basically we've got three main sessions. One is wellbeing and calm. And the programs that are put into that one are all about, they would help people with anxiety and depression and those kind of psychological challenges. It's about calming and calibrating, and also like balancing the two halves of the brain, sort of thing, hemispheres of the brain. So that's the first one, wellbeing and calm. The second one is energetic balance. So that's more about the physical body and the energetic fields, meridians and chakra systems and things like that. So it's about balancing that on a physical level. And then we've created, because of where we are, one called Lunchtime Zen, which is a 30-minute session and it's literally focused on stress relief and refocusing the brain so that they can come in frazzled and literally in half an hour leave, being able to go back to work, be more focused, be calmer, that sort of thing. So and we've started playing with imprinting holographic, it's actually called bird scare tape. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like a holographic tape that you can get from Bunnings. Yeah. And it's just, but we can imprint it because it's holographic. And we're able to imprint things like pain relief, or I did some for the horses and did parasite control. So we wormed the horses by imprinting these bands and putting it on their fetlock for the night, and they were wormed.
Yeah, right.
It's amazing what can happen.
The energy field is incredible if you can work with it really well, isn't it? So
it's using rife frequencies,
So is there like a massage table that they lie down on and then you do hands-on work, or I'm just trying to
so we do have like individual sessions. If someone comes in for an individual session, we can give them contacts, so those sticky things that go on either side of them. Yeah. And that runs frequencies through them, and we can run a biofeedback, and that will ping on any frequencies that need balancing.
So and what's a biofeedback?
So that's it. So that's the running a program that is an individual program just for that person in that chair in an individual consult, and it will identify. So it will ping on any pathogens, any parasites, any of those things that shouldn't be present in the body, and it'll ping on those, and it will come back with a list of frequencies that need balancing, and then we can run a program to then balance that. But say someone is experiencing,
I'm just trying to get a general idea. Is that like a program that's on a computer, or
Yes.
okay, now I'm with you.
So we use,
Yeah.
yes, so we do use the computer program.
Yeah,
And
I'm with
it's
you.
written
Yeah,
through
I've
there.
seen
Yeah.
that sort of
Yeah.
thing where
Yeah.
you have things on your fingers. Well, this one that I
You can
did,
do.
and then
There's
it could measure chakra energy
yeah,
vortexes and
that's
so
one.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with
Lots
you
of
there.
different
Yeah,
programs.
they're really good actually. I
So
have
we had
those before.
someone with her neck the other day was really sore, and and was locking. So we sort of went, okay, let's, because we're kind of experimenting with, bringing in more people. So initially we got it because my stepfather was going through. And so we thought that we would buy, and we had an opportunity to buy the whole system. And he's up in Queensland. And so the first thing that you do is you run a remote 11-day detox. And using fingernails, you can then create a quantum field around, or quantum entanglement around those fingernails from whoever that came from, and then run programs specifically for, in this case, detoxing. So what happens is, so in this case, so when we first got it to experiment, we got my mum to post fingernails, his fingernails came in the mail. That was gross. But anyway.
Yeah, it was gross.
And then I feel like a witch. I'm collecting fingernails.
Yeah.
Or something, really funny.
This is probably what they did. This is why they did that sort of thing, because they could feel into the energy through the DNA of the hair follicles and the fingernails, and they work with that a lot. So that's really interesting. Okay, carry on with your story.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of that, but that actually makes perfect sense as well. Right? That's a really cool side note. So okay, and then Gary and I did ours as well, and we ran the 11 days, and it runs through 11 days worth of program, all the different detoxing. And so everything was fine. You just go about your life, drink some more lemon water, you kind of be a bit aware of it, but don't really think about it that much. But day 4, I woke up going, I feel yucky. And then Gary got home from work, and I went, how are you today? And he goes, yeah, I was yuck this morning. I'm like, so I got on the phone, Mom, how are you? And she goes, yeah, I'm good. And I went, all day? She went, oh no, I threw up this morning. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was a really good validation that it worked.
Yeah,
that this quantum thing worked. Because up until then, I was like, I like the idea, I believed in it, but I hadn't.
You needed that proof as well.
Real,
Logic needs proof.
Exactly.
No Soul knows already, but logic needs proof.
Does.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was my proof. And so from then then a couple of weeks later, because we were able to run the 11-day, then they came down, and we were able to give him really focused sessions. So we probably spent 2 sessions sitting in a recliner, with connected to the machine that was running the right frequencies that he needed and for him at that time. And sure enough, when he only did that 2 hours twice, 2 days in a row, and then they went back to Queensland, and sure enough, he didn't have to get the radiation after that.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, and we just kept.
When they had another test done, and it's still gone back to, wow. Yeah. That's fantastic.
So all his numbers were down and going in the right direction. So yeah,
that's fantastic.
And that is how quickly and how amazing it can be.
That's really cool. So it's kind of like, okay, we learned all about, how to work with the energies of the world and stuff. Now we've brought in this logical based, computerized, so we can actually see it and play with it in an actual computer world kind of thing. But to be able to entangle both of those together, and it creates something completely different, doesn't it? So this is really interesting.
It's between now to the med beds. I see it as the bridge in between. Yes, well, the other one that I was just going to quickly say was about, Rife frequencies were created by Raymond and Rife, and a specific frequency will hit on a specific, whatever the issue is, pathogen. Whereas you have the scalar field is called universal energy, and that is like our blueprint energy. Blueprint,
original? like an original
Yes.
energy of where
Yes.
all the cells are supposed to, how they're supposed to act and all of that. Okay.
Yes, exactly. So sleeping in a scalar field over time will recalibrate you back to your original blueprint over time. However, we can also put scalar frequencies into that field and program them. There's a
So where does
guy who
scalar frequencies come from? Is it just like a grounded thing that grounds?
we have two things, a receiver and a transmitter, two boxes, and between that it creates like a football shaped field, and depending on how far apart determines how big that field is. So in our room, we've got our room, the chairs are set up inside that football shaped field. One thing, there's a guy in somewhere in America who's been studying scalar fields and for a really long time. And you were talking about the witches and the quantum entanglement. One thing that he's been working on is he works on, say he might work with an organization in Africa, and he might be working with people with, for example, and he will get that organization to send a photo, so not fingernails, but a photo of all of those people. And he might get, so he works with like 500,000 people at a time just on photos that he can just put a stack, and he can set the scalar for, in this case, to address. And so instead
Anyone
of it being
has that problem.
And those people are getting healed just from this.
And that's so interesting, because I remember talking to the elder that, I worked with for a few years, and she would talk about, she goes into meditation, and then she could heal so many people. She also had all at once, and that's what they were taught as elders to do. She also had a 1,000 monks that said that they will work with her. So when she went in, so this was from, oh God, I can't remember the place she went to. It's near Tibet. It's not Tibet. Man, it slipped my mind. But she went to this country, and then they were like, oh, you are, they remember her from a past life, Tara. And she said, no, I was in that life, but not in this life. This life, I'm Cherokee elder. And then they allocated these 1,000 monks for her to be able to help with the work that she was doing in this life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is amazing. Wow, that is very, very cool. Well, I was sort of seeing it as, remember, we'd watch, movies like old Tarzan movies, and, of some old tribe, who would be afraid of having their photo taken.
Yeah.
Because they feared that their soul would be taken by this photo. I'm like, now I'm going, you know what? There was something to that.
Yeah. Well, it also keeps you bound in that moment. And the moment that the photo was taken, it kind of keeps you stuck in that energy field of that moment, doesn't it?
That's true, yes.
Yeah, I've seen that in different levels of awareness. I know the original people of Australia don't like their photo taken, right? So I think it's because they live very presently. If they were,
they do,
whole within themselves. So if the photo's there, it's like, well, that was me when I had that issue. Why would I want to bring that issue back into my reality again?
Exactly, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
But I just
want to get rid of all our photos.
Buried in a box. Maybe it's time to get rid of it. Although it's always good to honor and remember, and bring that person, integrate. We'll just integrate them.
Do you want to just say your website again, and any sort of information, contact or addresses or anything that you want to share at this moment?
Yeah, thank you. So if you ever want, if anyone's ever looking for or feels drawn to want to come and connect with me, I can be found at www.happymindaligned.com. That's my website. On Facebook, you can find me at Happy Mind Aligned. And I also have another Facebook page called Daneille Rogers Conversations with Higher Selves. And I just dedicate that to some of the stories from some of my amazing sessions that we've had. So yeah, so that's one business. And if anyone's interested in the Ashanti frequency healing side, again, I can help anyone remotely or in person. And that one's Ashanti, ASHANTI, frequencyhealing.com, or Ashanti Frequency Healing on Facebook as well.
Yay.
So thank you.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I love doing this sort of thing and helping people. So yay.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thanks. And thanks for all your work. It's just wonderful and really wonderful to hear what you've been up to too.
Thank you. It was always a pleasure to connect. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobbie. You're amazing. And I'm so glad that you're in our world.
Yay.
Thank you.
I'm so glad I'm here too.
Yes. We need you.
Yay. We need each other. Great. Thanks, Danielle.